Hi, so let's have a look through the pages of volume 24 of Nuts and Bolts on the Panzer II D and E. Okay, so let's see what's inside the book. This is volume 24. Basically, I'm just sort of got a bit of a thing going on the Panzer II at the moment, so I got volume 24. The up to volume 37 was recently released, but everything since 24 onwards is all this format, and volume 37 is the same format. So this is Panzer II, D's and E's, and the variants. So basically that's the FlammPz's, Marder 2, and a couple of others. So you're getting details about not just the Panzer II D and E, but also the things that were built on that chassis. So a good thing to start with is basically this sort of explains the story. It started off with the Panzer II D1s, and then along came the D2s and the E's. Some of the D1s were turned into bridge layers, and then D1s, D2s, and E's were turned into FlammPz 2s. Then that turned out not to be such a good idea, so then after that those were turned into Marder 2s, and then some of those in turn were turned into basically training vehicles, and some of the FlammPz 2 main turrets were used as turrets in defence points in Norway and Denmark. So basically it's quite a bit of a story. So start off with the introduction, basically development of the Panzer II Ds, and basically where they came from, or the Ds and the E's, where they came from, technical details, armaments and the performance of those armaments, weapons carried, ammunition carried, chassis, different track types. The D's and E's had different tracks. That's one of the main ways to tell them apart. In fact, the D1 and the D2s had slightly different tracks as well. Armour thicknesses and angles. Then coming on to the variants are the units that used them to start with, and their strengths. Organisation of panzer companies. We get on to photographs. To start with, they were thought of, they put them into trucks like this, put one in the back of a truck, one on a trailer. That was the initial idea. Turned out not to be such a good plan, and you'll see why in a minute. See lots of good black and white photographs here, lots of details, captions in English and German. Text is also in English and German as well. English is perfect. There's lots of good details here. This page is interesting because it's going through all the differences, basically how to spot yourself a Panzer D and a Panzer E, and exactly what to look for. Sometimes you'll see these little images there. I've been doing some painting today. So there's lots of good images all the way through here. And here you see why putting the tank on that back of that truck was not such a good idea, because it made the centre of gravity too high. So these things kept, quite a lot of them rolled over. And it also turned out tactically not to be a good idea, because the trucks would, say, get to a bridge, but often the weight of the truck with the tank on the back was too much of the bridge, so they'd have to stop, not unhook the trailer, but get the back tank off, basically unload everything, drive across, and then reload again. So the time they were saving was lost with all the bridges they had to go over. So there's lots, as with all these books, there's lots of really good black and white images, And they start with and they go through in chronological order, starting with the earliest ones, going through to the later ones, internal details. And see here, there's details of the armament, radios, engine, equipment that was carried on the outside as well as the inside. We get on to 1/35th scale drawings. And these are pretty good for giving details. I've used these to double check things when I was building a model, and you say in the model something just didn't seem right, and I came here and indeed the kit wasn't quite right. But this sort of showed me where things should be. Then there's the Panzer E, and you can see here the difference between the tracks. The E tracks and the D tracks are different. Running gear. Then we get on to the variants. Here's the bridge layer, which basically still had the turret on it, but had a bridge on top. But the turret was very limited. It could basically point it forward, and that was pretty much it. And diagrams of the bridge layer, how it was used. The FlammPz, that was an interesting idea. Basically, add a couple of tanks on the outside, armoured tanks on the outside of the vehicle for 2 flamethrowers, one on each mudguard at the front. They were only used up to basically winter of 1941. And then basically wasn't such a good idea. Didn't work out so well. But there's lots of photographs of them, service history, organisation, and here they are. You can see a flamethrower turret on the front there. Like I said, always lots of details. The FlammPz had smoke discharges added on the sides as well. And you can see here there's one of the armoured tanks are inside there. So going through, as I said before, lots of details. It's a bit like sort of 2 or 3 books in one. Starts off with a D&E, and then it goes on to the FlammPz, and you get a whole section on the FlammPz. There's one being used. And as you can imagine, there's lots of details about those and about each variant. There's a good photograph from right up close. And again, 1/35th scale drawings. How the flame and smoke lane system was put together. I remember the FlammPz's were made from D1s, D2s and D3s, so there's a D1, there's a D2, and there's an E. Or what were FlammPz 2 based on, those 3 different variants. Now the Marder 2 basically take off the Panzer II turret, open up the hole and stick a Russian Pak 36 in there. Basically, it got a good anti-tank weapon mobile, but it was really tall, was the problem. There's the armament, the armor plates, net angles, inventory of units from 1943 to the end of the war, which units had them. Organisation, camouflage and markings. You can see even with this one, it's really quite a tall vehicle. It'd be kind of tough to hide that one. And then you can see lots of good photographs, camouflage. I'm going all the way through. There's an interesting diagram with a crane. Back again with the scale drawings. And then that's a driving school Panzer. And one there as well. Basically take the turret off. Some of them had a metal superstructure put on them, some didn't. And then their final use was ring stands using turrets of taken from the FlammPz 2s. Basically a concrete bunker with a Panzer II turret on the top, and some of them still exist today. This is in Norway. And then we go to the section at the back with modelling these variants that we've been looking at. The FlammPz, the Ds and the Es. There's not much out there about the FlammPz 2, it seems. But no, there's some background information there, model overview, when this book was published. Bibliography, 22 different document sources of information used. We get onto the colour plates based on some of the black and white photographs, and if you just use the numbers there, S21, just look to page 21. So going through colour photographs, pre-war to colour camouflage. There's some quite nice colour ones there. Marder 2s. Again, I think they all came out in Dunkelgelb and had camouflage put on them. It's an interesting one. Lots of information. Various markings you'll have seen on the vehicles in the books, and that one was used on the FlammPz's. And here's some builds of some kits of a FlammPz, Panzer II and a Marder 2. And there we go. Another lovely book from Nuts and Bolts. You can get them from various outletters. I order mine right off the website. It's easiest. They arrive safely from Germany in cardboard envelopes. Never had any problems at all. So have a look see all the books they offer. They really go into an awful lot of detail, much more than you'll probably find in any other general books. So many thanks to Nuts and Bolts for sending this along.